imagine the absolute conniption fit that would happen if at a Democratic president's inauguration, all of the heads of TV networks and movie studios were sitting in the front row.
Imagine if they had just gone so far as to put Mika and Joe in the front row. It would have been the conniption to end all conniptions.
You're listening to Hysteria, the podcast that questions the wisdom of inviting Carrie Underwood, whose biggest hit was about destroying the personal property of a man who was unfaithful, to an event that was really quite full of famously unfaithful men, right?
I'd like to think that they were being a little, I don't know, subversive, but I just don't think they were.
I don't think she jabbed the key into the side of anybody's pretty
four-wheel drive.
Four-wheel drives. She's been stealing valor from truly psycho girlfriends of the world. I see you, Carrie. I'm not mad at you. I'm not. You know what? We'll get into this later. I'm not mad at you personally for performing. I am mad at you for pretending to be a hilarious, crazy bitch.
Yeah.
You're not.
You're basic.
Oh, who could have guessed an American Idol contestant would be basic? Okay, Alyssa, we've been talking about this for a while.
Ready.
So Trump was inaugurated this week.
He was.
And before we get into the really panic-inducing, I think designed to be panic-inducing minutiae of all the executive orders he signed, I believe everybody's referring to them as a flurry of executive orders.
Activity.
A slurry, if you will. I want to just frame all of this way. People who voted for Donald Trump said they voted for him because of the economy. Mm-hmm. And you and I were both very skeptical of that claim.
Right. From
jump. Because what is that? Because what does that mean? Define what the economy means. And I think that first of all, in the true sense of the word, the economy, like how people are doing, how people's lives are going day to day. None of Donald Trump's actions this week did anything to lower egg prices.
Nope.
To further, to make it so that people were living more comfortable and happy lives. None of it went to, he didn't do anything with IVF. I thought he said the government was going to pay for IVF.
He was the father of IVF,
I thought he was he fathered it. He fathered IVF personally. I think, so let's consider the fact that he didn't do anything to actually fix the economy.
Right.
Unless in the views of people who voted for him, the economy isn't about actual economic metrics, but it is about them feeling richer than people they feel more important. They feel like they should be more important than.
Yes.
And people who are in a lesser station than they believe that they are in are reminded of that. If you think of the economy as just a dog whistle for, I want to feel richer and more important than people who I feel like I should just automatically be richer and more important than, then what he's doing makes sense. So with that in mind, with the fact that I think a lot of people were lying when they said the economy, they actually just wanted to feel rich, let's talk about some of the things that Trump did during his first hours and days in office.
Well, Erin, it's a funny thing because since I very much was a part of the actual mechanics of how the White House works, there were certain things that really smacked me in the face this week. So one of the things when the government would shut down, one of the things that nobody ever thought about was like, I used to write the scripts for the White House operators and how they would leave the voicemail because people couldn't answer the phone because the government was shut down, right? Mm-hmm. And how the website works. Well, Erin, all the things that I thought they maybe didn't know about or know how to do or didn't care about, they know now. So they went ahead, they took down the reproductiverights.gov website. They took down all the Spanish language translation for all of whitehouse.gov. And they took down the Office of Gun Violence Prevention webpage.
Mm-hmm. Which was something that Kamala Harris ran.
Yes. So that's, Okay, they're putting the work in.
They're putting in new drapes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're not changing the foundation, but they're putting in the fuck you drapes at this point.
And And so the valance to the fuck you drapes was pulling the US out of the World Health Organization. Mm-hmm. Which, not great. Really wish we weren't doing that. I think the United States bears like 19% of all the funding for the World Health Organization. Just saying, when the world's healthy, we're healthy. So don't know how that one, 1+1 made 5 in that instance. This one was really tough. He pardoned about 1,500 insurrectionists, Erin. And the thing about this that made me very sad, among the worst of them, even Republicans were a bit aghast, Erin, that the violent people got pardoned. Because Tom Tillis and all the bros in the Senate, they were like, yeah, he should pardon these guys. But, I mean, Enrique Tarrio, Proud Boy leader, Oath Keeper founders. And the problem with this, I mean, there's problems with everything that he's done, but this I thought was particularly distasteful because so many of the Capitol Police that we've seen on TV over the past couple of years, cops who testified before Congress. Well, Erin, I didn't know this, but when someone you testify against gets out of prison, you get notified. And one of the cops had 57 missed phone calls for each one of the people he testified against being let out of prison. And the police officers are now getting death threats. We withdrew from the Paris Climate Agreement, all on Inauguration Day. Trump had so many executive orders. It's like you'd think he'd get a quicker signature, but he just loves the way that signature looks. Erin, he had a box of those black pens he loves. And that was it. He also rescinded a Biden administration provision that allowed transgender people to serve in the military. That's just a smattering of the 200 that he issued.
Yeah, and there was another EO that basically said trans people don't exist. And let me just say this. I have many trans people and non-binary people who are near and dear to me. If they don't exist, though, maybe they shouldn't have to pay taxes, like at all. Right?
You know what? That makes such good sense.
I mean, you don't exist, right? You shouldn't have to contribute in any way whatsoever to society.
If you're not considered a person, why should you have to do people things?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. It also said, look, I'm laughing because it's ridiculous, dangerous medical mishmash.
Yeah.
In the order, he said that people are man or woman if they are producing the large or small sex cell at the moment of conception.
What?
What they're trying to say is anybody whose body produces sperm is a man and anyone whose body produces an egg is a woman. But at the moment of conception, nobody's producing shit. We don't have the glands. We don't have the genitalia. This
is what happens when Donald Trump tries to do science.
It's just science exams handed back face down.
Face
my
down.
God.
Nothing but face down.
But I'm sure, over the next 4 years, there's going to be a lot of medical mumbo jumbo. So I don't want to belabor the point here. Science tests handed back face down in that administration, 100%. How about the sham TikTok ban? What did you think of that, Alyssa?
What on earth? Just what on earth? First of all, TikTok, so complicit in everything. So I opened up my TikTok and first it said, sorry, America, no more TikTok for you. And then, I don't know, a couple hours later, it says, America, TikTok will be back soon, hopefully with the help of President Donald J. Trump, who is willing to help us, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So you drove the car off the cliff, but it was chained to a tree. So why are we supposed to take anything seriously? The TikTok guy was at the inauguration, and now, for no real good reason, Donald Trump's like, I have no problem if Elon buys TikTok. What? Like, everyone just go away.
Yeah.
It was a pretty wild thing to watch all of the people who control the bulk of all the news that most Americans consume sitting behind Donald Trump at the inauguration.
I mean, can you imagine? I know it's like, can you imagine is sort of useless.
Sure we
in
can.
these times. Imagine the absolute conniption fit that would happen if at a Democratic president's inauguration, all of the heads of TV networks and movie studios were sitting in the front row.
Imagine if they had just gone so far as to put Mika and Joe in the front row. It would have been the conniption to end all conniptions.
Absolutely. Okay. So that, you know what, we're not going to waste too much time on these executive orders. I think a lot of it, again, is designed to, it will negatively impact people's lives. Of course it will. And I'm especially afraid for people who are undocumented or here on asylum, which includes people who are close to me. And I'm really afraid for them. I'm afraid that the federal government is now authorizing ICE agents to go into hospitals and schools and
churches.
Churches. It's fucking disgusting. Nobody gets paid enough to have to choose between caring for their patients and standing up to a federal law enforcement agent. Like, that's fucking bullshit. But there will be time for anger. And I will be screaming into a pillow after this, but not on camera, guys. I am going to be visibly
cool as
untriggered.
cucumbers.
Cool as cucumbers. Yeah, things are not great, but we're here. We're here for each other, and we can focus on what's in front of us and who's around us. Hysteria is brought to you by Ritual. Alyssa, talk about a time your skepticism served you well.
Most of the time, right? Isn't it always good to measure twice and cut once?
Yeah, you know when it served me well? Before people knew that Temu and like Shein were not always going to give you the highest quality of clothing. I used to get these ads on web pages all the time that were like, look at this beautiful dress. It's $9.99. And I would be like, that does not make any sense. And then there was this whole like subgenre of like viral content that was people ordering those dresses and what they actually look like when they come in the mail.
I remember that.
Yeah, they're it's like pretty funny, but it's also like, what did you think you were going to get? You're paying $9.99. Did you think you were going to get like hand sewn darting in the bodice of your dress? But anyway, if you can spot a too good to be true health hack from a mile away and read labels like it's your job, congratulations, you're a skeptic. Ritual knows that every good skeptic deserves a multivitamin that exceeds your standards. Their clinically backed Essential for Women 18 Plus multivitamin has high quality, traceable key ingredients in clean, bioavailable forms.
Only about 1% of supplement brands are USP verified, and Ritual's one of them, so you know you can trust what you're putting in your body. Ritual multivitamins are vegan, non-GMO, project verified, gluten and major allergen free, certified B Corp, and made traceable. Ritual has industry-leading sustainability standards to help lower carbon packaging, prioritize sustainably sourced ingredients, and set ambitious climate goals. Ritual is a female-founded B Corp, meaning they're holding themselves accountable to not just their company's financial health, but also the health of the people and our planet.
You know why I choose Ritual?
Doesn't make me burp.
It doesn't taste bad. Like, it is.
Same.
It's good to incorporate a multivitamin into your life, but so many of them, like, I don't know, you can taste how bad they are.
And then taste them all day.
Yeah, and you taste them all day. I love that Ritual just delivers what you need, nothing you don't need, and has a little minty flavor when you take it, and it's not gross like other multivitamins. No more shady business. Ritual's Essential for Women 18 Plus is a multivitamin you can actually trust. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/hysteria. Start Ritual or add Essential for Women 18 Plus to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/hysteria for 25% off.
Hysteria is brought to you by Haya. Typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy additives growing kids should never eat. That's why Haya created a super powdered, chewable vitamin. While many children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar, which is known to contribute to a variety of health issues, Haya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy additives. Yet it tastes great and is perfect for picky eaters. Haya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full-body nourishment our kids need with a yummy taste they love. Formulated with the help of pediatricians and nutritional experts, Haya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immune system, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, and everything else you can imagine.
Every single batch is third-party tested for heavy metals and microbiomes in a qualified GMP-compliant lab using scientifically validated testing methods. So you know the product is safe and nutritious. It is designed for kids 2 and up and sent straight to your door, so parents have one less thing to worry about it. I gotta say, my daughter's diet, my 3-year-old's diet, consists of meatballs and noodles, and that's like all we can get her to eat. And I was one of those people that before I had kids, I was a perfect parent, and I was like, my kid won't be picky. Well, turns out you don't
pick the picky.
It sometimes just happens. Like she just is so picky, but she likes her Haya vitamins, and that's great because Otherwise, I don't know how she would continue to exist. Sometimes I like pick her up from school and like her lunch still has everything in it. And it's like, what is your body running on today? I don't understand. But Haya's
not
great.
Sugary vitamins.
I know. I love that there is no sugar in it. I love that it's not gummy. I love that she likes it, but I'm not about to find her like hiding under the table and eating the vitamins like the candy like I did once with Flintstones vitamins.
Of course.
I have no complaints. They're great. They do what they need to do. They don't have anything that they don't need. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/hysteria. This deal is not available on the regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/hysteria and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. And welcome back. You're listening to Hysteria, the podcast whose audio team is far more competent and superior to Trump's. Just going to do an audio team victory lap. Today, we have New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand joining us to discuss the recent developments regarding the Equal Rights Amendment, her new role as the chair of the DSCC, and what things are like on the ground in Washington right now. Welcome back to Hysteria, Senator Gillibrand.
Thank you. Happy to be on.
Senator KG, you've been on a years-long journey to getting the Equal Rights Amendment ratified and acknowledged as part of the U.S. Constitution. There have been some big ups and ambiguous developments recently. Can you catch us up to speed? Is it the 28th Amendment?
Yes, the ERA is the 28th Amendment. And it's the 28th Amendment because Article 5 gives us two things that have to be done to make an amendment, and both things have been done. You have to get 2/3 of the House and Senate. That happened in the 70s. And you have to get the 3/4 of the states to ratify, which is 38 states. And the 38th state to ratify was Virginia in 2020. Unfortunately, President Trump was president at the time, and he did not allow the archivist to sign and publish it at that time. His Department of Justice issued a memorandum saying it took too long. But if you look at that memo, it's not true. They incorrectly cite to legislation and precedent that is not applicable. And in fact, when those two things happened, the archivist should have just signed and published. And the signing and publishing is just a technical administrative thing. It's supposed to tell the states you have to follow this law and you have to make sure you have no laws that undermine this amendment. And so that part wasn't done. So what President Biden just did was essentially the archivist's job for her. And he is the one who notified the states that it is the 28th Amendment. Everything that's needed to be done is done. And it is part of our Constitution. Now, the next step for all things is going to be lawsuits will fly. And eventually this will get adjudicated in the Supreme Court. And we'll know one way or the other whether it's going to stand. Most constitutional amendments are litigated afterwards. People are always unhappy about one thing or the other. And all the constitutional amendments up until now have stood. So we'll see. We'll hope that ERA stands, and we hope that Trump doesn't take it down. But if he does, it'll be clear for the American public that he doesn't believe women have equality under the Constitution, and he doesn't believe that they should.
Why do you think, so you have really been beating the drum on this for a very long time, and you have been on all the podcasts, all the news, you have been asking President Biden to meet with you. And it took him a long time. Did you actually get to meet with him about this? And why do you think it took him so long? Why did he do this in the 11th hour, do you think?
You know, I've been trying to make the case to the people around him for a year. And I was able to mention it to him briefly on two occasions. Once when he was in New York City for the Stonewall Inn celebration. And then the second time at the White House Christmas party. So I mentioned it to him twice in 30-second increments, and he liked the idea both times. But I've been trying to get the staff to focus and to try to follow along on the illegal analysis. But one thing that happened most recently was the American Bar Association issued an opinion saying that the Equal Rights Amendment has been not only voted on, but fully ratified, and that it should be the 28th Amendment, and that any arguments to the contrary of timelines or it took too long aren't valid under the law, and any arguments saying states want to rescind also aren't valid because states have wanted to rescind many amendments in the past, and they were never allowed to. So having the American Bar Association, which is the highest legal body in the land of the most sophisticated lawyers in America, to all agree that this is the law of the land, I think perhaps might have shifted the White House's analysis. So I don't know why it took so long. I think, the campaigns intervene and you get all wrapped up in a national political campaign. And if you're not a legal scholar or have the time to delve into all the precedent and understand why this made so much sense, you might not get it. So I don't know the reason, but I think ultimately we prevailed and we made the case and President Biden agreed.
Senator, can you give us, those of us who might not be legal scholars, a Schoolhouse Rock style explanation of how this would play out in the courts?
So in courts already, states that have equal rights amendments have been able to use those equal rights amendments to guarantee equality under the law for women. And they've used it in cases concerning reproductive rights. So a plaintiff in New Mexico and a plaintiff in Connecticut both sued. They were Medicaid patients who needed access to abortion services. And when they were denied, they argued that not allowing them to get basic health care was a violation of their Equal Rights Amendment because all male health care was covered, just not all female health care. And both those courts agreed. Other lawsuits have been filed in places like Pennsylvania, and they're still being appealed and are being adjudicated. But there's at least 3 ongoing lawsuits right now on local ERAs, statewide ERAs, and what their impact is on the law for women and equality, particularly in reproductive rights. So I believe if we had a national ERA, you could file lawsuits about Dobbs, because Dobbs says women of reproductive years don't have a right to privacy. And red states have implemented that by saying you don't have a right to travel across state lines. Parents trying to take their 10-year-old who was raped across state lines were prosecuted. You don't have a right to privacy in the mail. People who wanted to get mifepristone in the mail could be arrested. And right to privacy on social media, like a mom and her daughter having conversations on Facebook about how to get access abortion services are being prosecuted. So all those cases could now be litigated to say if men of reproductive years have a right to privacy, to cross state lines, to get medicine in the mail, to talk to their loved ones on social media, but women don't, that seems unequal. So it's a basis on which to sue for reproductive rights. You could also sue for equal pay. You could also sue for Title IX violations. Any abridgment of a statute or a regulation that requires equality, you could sue on that basis, or that denies equality.
So Erin and I are always fascinated by this, but right after the election, you look back, you see the state of Florida. Donald Trump got 56% of the vote in Florida, but the abortion amendment got 57%, right? So abortion outperformed Donald Trump in Florida of all places. So it seems that abortion, which is so much more controversial, it feels like, than women just being equal to men, which is essentially what the ERA does. How do you anticipate the GOP campaigns against the ERA? Like, how do they go about explaining gently that they don't believe that 50% of the population of this country deserves equal protection?
So they'll try to muddy the waters. So they'll say things like, well, this will mandate a draft. Women will have to fight in wars. So that's one argument. And the other argument is they used to argue that women who get divorced wouldn't get child support. So they, the Phyllis Schlafly's of the world created these arguments around the time of Roe to get the Equal Rights Amendment just put aside. And those were the 2 main arguments she used. I don't know if those 2 arguments would work today because society is less gendered. And women who serve in the military are not afraid of combat and very much welcome it. And most people are common sense enough to know that if we were in a national emergency, natural disaster or wartime, and the country needed people, there's lots of roles in the military. Not everybody is an infantry person who's going to shoot a rifle. People are logistics coordinators, chefs, cooks, lawyers, doctors, nurses, transportation experts, like literally any job in society is replicated in the Department of Defense. So if we were really in trouble and we had to fight against some onslaught or some horrific natural disasters, I am certain women would want to help. So it's not such a scary thing. That's what selective service is if, God forbid, there's a national emergency and help is needed, I think we'd want our daughters and sons to help because there's lots of ways to do it. Not everybody has to fire a rifle.
Yeah. Also, when is the last time anybody got called up from the draft? Like,
Vietnam.
It's been like, right.
Yeah,
it's
long
been,
time.
exactly. It's been
50 years. Yeah.
very long time. Yeah.
But Alyssa, to your point, I dare them to say 50% of the American people don't deserve equality. That's the point. The reason why, when opponents said, well, why would you want this to go up to the Supreme Court with this Supreme Court? My answer is because it's the status of the law. We should fight for this law. And what are you going to do? Wait till the court's better? That could be 20, 30, 40, 100 years. I have no idea when. But why would you waste this moment in time when you have achieved the things that are necessary for a constitutional amendment not to fight for it? If the Republicans were one signature away from having equality denied, you think they'd pause? No, they would go for it. And we should go for it because the law is on our side. So yes, let them argue to the Supreme Court women don't deserve equality. It'll really put in very stark relief the fact that the Republican Party does not care about women and does not believe we should have equal rights under the law.
Hysteria is brought to you by Rocket Money. Erin, did Rocket Money find any subscriptions you forgot about or any you paid for twice and didn't realize it? Because it did for me.
Yes, it did for me too. I don't want to name any names.
We won't name names.
We won't name names, but I've named them in the past, and
Me too.
Maybe should not have. The start of a new year is a perfect time to get organized, set goals, and prioritize what matters most. For me, a top priority is my financial wellness, which feels more important than ever. Thanks to Rocket Money, my goals feel achievable. They show me all my subscriptions in one place. They help me easily cancel the ones I forgot I've been paying for. Rocket Money also pulls together all of my spending across different accounts so I can clearly track my spending habits and see what I can cut back on.
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. See all your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money's going. For ones you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all of your accounts. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save. Then you can ask them to negotiate for you. They'll deal with customer service so you don't have to. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/hysteria today. That's rocketmoney.com/hysteria. rocketmoney.com/hysteria.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Alyssa, what do you want your 2025 story to be?
I'd like to shift from surviving to thriving. That's my story.
Tall order.
Look, they asked the question.
That's true. Dare to dream. Every January brings you 365 blank pages waiting to be filled. In 2025, maybe you're ready for a plot twist, or maybe there's part of your story you've been wanting to revise. Life isn't about resolutions that fade by February. It's about picking up the pen and becoming the author of your own life. Think of therapy as your editorial partner, helping you write new chapters and create the meaningful story you deserve to live. And speaking of editorial partner, maybe therapy also helps you notice annoying tics that you have in your writing that you could get rid of, like adding unnecessary intensifiers.
I've talked through some of my tics with my therapist.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how do I get rid of them now? I've told you, I know what they are.
Right. And like, you know how you just kind of don't notice how your own house smells until you leave and like come back and you're like, oh, that's how it smells. Hopefully it's not like, oh, that's how it smells. But I feel like therapy is just like helps you to not go nose blind about what you're doing with your life and how you're acting.
It's the best description of therapy ever.
Yes. I've benefited immensely from therapy in the past, and I highly recommend trying it if you haven't tried it, or if you're thinking about going back. It's a great time to just try it out.
Even out the edges.
Exactly. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/HysteriaPod to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/HysteriaPod.
KG, do any of your Republican lady Senate counterparts, are they supportive of the ERA?
Yes, both Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski support reproductive rights. Lisa was on an equal rights amendment with Ben Cardin about fixing the date so that there was no timeline. So she was on that bill. I'd asked her to sign a letter to be on this one to say the deadline doesn't matter at all because there's nothing in the Constitution that allows Congress to set deadlines, and there's no precedent that a deadline in a preamble is constitutionally not operative. Mm-hmm. And she was looking at it, but she didn't decide one way or the other. So I think push comes to shove, they'd probably be with us on that, but I don't know.
That's a pretty originalist argument for allowing it. I mean, try to sidestep that one, Neil Gorsuch.
Exactly. Well, it'll be fun to watch. I'm sure they'll try, but...
Yeah. Senator, you're the new chair of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. What made you seek that post?
Well, I had such a really energized experience helping New York State flip the House of Representatives. I was trying to win back the 5 House seats we lost last cycle. So this cycle, we created a coordinated campaign. We had a battleground of 7 seats, and we won 5 out of 7. So we did really well. And part of my job for that was to raise money for this coordinated campaign to win these red and purple districts. So I volunteered to do the DSCC because it's not dissimilar. We have to fight in red and purple states to win back a majority in the Senate. And I really felt that I made a difference in New York. And so I really wanted to apply that to the country and trying to help my colleagues in the Senate, but also try to win back a majority.
And I know we just got through a kind of bruising election in 2024, but where are your sights set for 2026? Are there any states and any races that you're already kind of like rubbing your palms together about?
Yeah, we've got a lot of interesting opportunities and a lot of hard work. So North Carolina, that's a state that has been blue before, and I think we can flip it again. We just won the governor's race. My friend Josh Stein just won there. And maybe we can convince the former governor to run. Maybe Roy Cooper will run. That could be a good race. Or other great people in North Carolina. There's lots of potential candidates. The perennial hope is Maine because it's a blue state. Susan Collins is very hard to beat. She's been there a long time. She's very well respected. But, maybe it's time. Maybe she doesn't run for re-election. Maybe people are ready for a new generation. Who knows? So we'll definitely look at Maine. The other states are harder because they're red. So Kentucky, it's open seat because McConnell's retiring. So maybe like if you got somebody like Andy Beshear to run, he could win the Senate seat. You never know with the right candidate. Places like Alaska, there's special elections in Ohio from the fact that J.D. Vance is now the vice president. And what if we could get Tim Ryan or Sherrod Brown to run? That might be exciting. What's the other one? Florida. There's a special election because Rubio's now the Secretary of State. So that would be an interesting one. Florida's always hard to win, but since it's open, you don't have an incumbent, it's a fair shot.
We have the White House, the House, the Senate, Supreme Court. Republicans are everywhere. Conservative values are everywhere. What should Democrats prioritize doing right now?
Well, the biggest and most important issue in New York was the cost of things. People were frustrated. The cost of eggs is still skyrocketed. Avian flu and other challenges have really hurt, and that hurts our bakeries. It hurts restaurants. So the cost of all food, meat, milk, everything is higher. Cost of housing is still really high, and it's not affordable for most people around the country. Fuel is always a constant stressor. So cost of things and public safety. Those are the 2 biggest issues that most New Yorkers were focused on in the last couple of years. I think it's true for most states. So those are top of mind for people. Healthcare, access to healthcare, costs of healthcare.
So we watched you at the confirmation hearing for Pete Hegseth. You gave a very emotional and stark series of questions. Do you think that he is suited to be the Secretary of Defense?
So I don't think he has what we normally expect as a Secretary of Defense nominee. He doesn't have any management experience. He didn't really achieve a level of seniority serving. He has some public statements that are extremely troubling that would lead one to believe that he wouldn't be a Secretary of Defense for the entire armed services if he's going to not really be someone to protect his women service members or LGBTQ service members or service members who are more moderate or more progressive than he is. Those previous public statements were huge red flags about fitness for the office. Does he have the right character? Does he have the right temperament? It's very concerning. So those are just some of the key things that people were most concerned about.
KG, this week on Inauguration Day, we lost a hero, Cecile Richards. And we just wanted to thank her. And we know you were so close with her. She fought the fight for us. And so we just wanted to toast her. She was, awarded Presidential Medal of Freedom in November by President Biden. And I was just going to read the quote that she gave at the convention this summer. She said, quote, "As my mother, Governor Ann Richards, would say, I hear America singing. When women are free to make their own decisions about their lives and to follow our dreams, we are unstoppable." And so as someone who gave so much to the cause, we just wanted to say, thank you, Cecile.
She really was a role model for so many people. She was a champion. She was a fighter. She was a woman of extraordinary presence and poise and elegance. She really understood what was at stake for women in America. She devoted decades to advocacy for women and reproductive health. She was really a fighter and a champion that it's going to be hard to replace her. You don't find women like that, just like her mom. I mean, Ann Richards was really a role model for generations of women that came after her. So Cecile will be missed. She really will be.
She was a wonderful person, a wonderful American, and absolutely she will be missed. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, thank you so much for joining us and for helping explain what's going on with the ERA and, as always, just giving us your insight.
Thank you for having me.